morning, you guys. Welcome back to the channel. Completely different, just a nice, easy watch video for you today. I'm going to show you a pictorial calendar log of all the birds of prey and falconry birds I've had from the very beginning. I'm going to try and list them pretty much in order from my early years of starting out with owls to falconry kicking in proper, to the beginning of my business Raptor Exotics, all the way to the end of owning and running Icarus Falconry for the last 5 years. I'll show you the birds and I'll tell you just a smidgen about each and every one. It all started really with a barn owl that my boss brought back as a pet from a pet wholesalers to our tropical fish and reptile shop, and me thinking, wow, an actual captive bred barn owl. I didn't know you could keep them. But the only person I know that was a falconer at the time was my dad's old friend from the building sites at the time, Tom Carnahan. And I rang him and said, can I get some food? What do you do food for? He said, Dave, that'll be absolutely mentally retarded. A barn owl kept in a parrot cage. Don't touch it with a barge pole. I've got an 8-year-old barn owl. I'm retiring from the show arena. If you want to listen and do things right, I'll give you Barney, and you can learn all the aspects of, the main aspects of falconry: weight management, bird care, food prep, training, although it was pre-trained and so on. It started there, but he was the only guy I knew. I saw his birds when I popped round with my dad once as a little boy, and birds like this one that I saw at the Royal Agricultural Show at Peterborough, I don't know, when I was 10 years old or something, and in those days, I had no inkling to be a falconer. It would have seemed like some black art, nothing I would have even possibly considered. Despite all the animals and creatures I kept, it was never on my radar at all. It must be something either the rich or super clever could do. Do you know what? Just a freak chance that my boss got suckered in to buy a barn owl from a wholesaler, believe it or not, as he was buying iguanas and royal pythons at the same time down in London somewhere. Here's the story and here's the birds. Sit back, chill out and just enjoy. So here he is, Barney the barn owl, who taught me an awful lot indeed. And he stayed with me when I left home. I was about 17 there, when I bought a house with a girlfriend at the time. And years later, when we split up, she kept Barney, but he lived a good old life. Once I'd had Barney there for a year or so, I fell into the trap that I'd tell other people never to do. I wanted to try and train and fly all kinds of birds. At the time it was owls, Bengal, eagle owl, and then when I grew that up and I imprinted it and trained it to fly well, that was brilliant. I got myself, or I wanted a big one because I was a boy, I wanted the biggest, so I got a European eagle owl and imprinted that. And then of course I wanted a snowy owl. Now Harry Potter wasn't invented, but snowy owls were still gorgeous, and so on and so forth. Guys, it's a mistake, not so bad if it's pets that you're, not pets are they, but birds you're just flying for a bit of exercise and enjoying. I'm going to say as pets really, and it's the wrong thing to say, but if you want to be falconer, goodness me, get one bird and stick with it, see it through. Get on there on Free Bird of Reasons YouTube channel and follow a guy that's got a hawk year in, year out, and watch that bird get better and better and better. For falconry, get one bird and give it a few years before you even think about supplement it with a second bird. At this point, Tom said, Dave, stop it. Stop getting owl after owl. If you're going to carry on with this, get yourself something and learn proper falconry. He loaned me a buzzard to learn other things like following on and so on. Proper falconry stuff, I guess. And then I brought myself a buzzard, but it turned into a screamer. No good at home, in a suburban garden. My parents went mad, the neighbours went mad, not listening at all. I brought a second-hand red-tailed hawk. That had twice the sound volume. Goodness me, when you're young and stupid, it's really not good. Finally, at 21 years of age, I got it. I got it in my head, I understood, and I got myself a goshawk bred by Ray Muttock, locally in Northamptonshire. Remember, a couple of books, no internet, no mobile phones. I only knew 3 falconers in Northamptonshire. And of course, with goshawking, came the understanding of ferreting, and I was already running lurchers, and the lurcher Floyd, he worked with that goshawk splendidly well, just trying to keep up pace as the bird chased game birds, but never interfering. A great team, and then I really learnt and began my falconry journey proper. After 5 years of purely working with one bird, the goshawk, this happened. This other kind of bird turned up in my life, and it all changed with a sudden bang. Literally in a few months we were married, and then came this one, and then came the both of them, and you know how it goes. I was hunting that goshawk, flying that goshawk, honestly 6 days a week for about 5 seasons. No, things changed. My falconry ended for about 4 years. No birds of prey at all, a family man only. And then when the kids were old enough to come along and tag along with me, Bomber came along. My first Harris's hook. I rediscovered falconry after visiting a bird of prey display up in the Lake District somewhere on a holiday. It all began again. A few more years later, it all ended again when we spent 2 years living in the Spanish countryside. Now, one of the first things I actually did when we returned from living in Spain was scour the pages online for another goshawk, and I brought Max, a 2nd year imprint goshawk, and my goodness me, back at it we were. And with that guy came Fen, the Bedlington Terrier puppy, who the nose, the obedience and the intelligence for a so-called terrier breed made him a fantastic falconry partner indeed. 14 years old he is now as I record this video. By now, falconry had basically eaten me alive, and I fancied something in those summer months, so along came Bert, a Perisaker hybrid, my first falcon, the first time I ever used or purchased telemetry, and this guy was the best thermaling and stooping to the lure bird I've ever seen. After flying Max for a few seasons, along came Eric, completely by random chance and nothing more, who turned into another level of goshawk. And then I started Raptor Exotics, my wildlife, animal, nature-based educational business, and along came Nigel the Harris Hawk and Plop the Barn Owl, followed by Crackerjack the White-Faced Owl, a lovely long-eared owl called Wally, and he was, a real star, and one of those birds I sadly sold and regret to this day, as I did Bert the peregrine falcon Saker cross. Someone desperately wanted a bird and wanted helping out with a bird on a landfill site. Don't know what happened to him. Biggest regret ever. Now, I was never short of falcons to fly on the flying team. I had my lovely, in the background there, Lannerette. What was his name? Neville. But Barbary falcons and peregrines, Mike Hewlett had always donated some for a year or two before they went back into his breeding programs. So some falcons came and went for that purpose alone. Somewhere in amongst those, or towards the end of those owl years, if you like, I did have a kestrel, but this kestrel was bought for Raptor Exotics on the display team and was one of only 2 birds that died through accident as far as I can remember. The other bird that died in such a way was Millie, my first yellow-billed black kite, who escaped from her aviary during a storm while I was abroad and sadly got run over eating roadkill hundreds of miles away up in Hull. I had to replace her the following year here with Daisy, a sister from another clutch a year later, who in the first original lockdown, sadly I had to sell, another massively regrettable sale. I think I've sold 3 of those birds. To finance feeding the rest of the team and so on in those very difficult times. One of Mike Hewlett's homebred Tearsall peregrines, a genuine 1 pound 8 ounce flying weight with those guys. These cuties are a pair of American kestrels that I hand-reared and imprinted, the male being Kyle's first genuine bird of prey, and the female went to Tom Morath to fly on his education and experience days. It all changed again 11 years ago when a 16-week-old golden eagle entered my life, Zeus, and very big changes. So 11 seasons I think we're at now, and Eric the goshawk, about a year in from owning Zeus, he went off for breeding, and it's been golden eagle falconry more or less ever since, with the odd extra thing thrown in there. Zara the Harris Hawk, an experienced day bird at Icarus Falconry that turned a little bit tense. Mike said, would you like her for hunting? She's just got the potential to be aggressive as an experienced day bird, and she soon became Kyle's absolute ultimate Harris Hawk. My ultimate dream, to fly a fully parent-reared musket and succeed on blackbird. Goodness me, the first one, Flea, he literally, the day of entering, he caught Flounce, and that was the end of him by the time I realised what he'd got. And Midge, another fantastic little musket, coming on really well. After a 3-week holiday, the return of which saw him completely losing his head, and he ended up going to a friend who wanted a musket for breeding. So far, failure on the musket front. The next doggy to come along was Elsie. She took over from Fen when I started flying a golden eagle because, yeah, he was a little bit small and fluffy. Jerry the little Jack Merlin, what a display bird he was, a dynamite lure bird. Sadly, he ate a bit of quail breast. The rest of the quail got fed to a peregrine. The next day, the peregrine was very sick indeed, but recovered. The Merlin, sadly dead. Something wrong with the food there, and what a terrible shame. Another kestrel, this one given to me second hand to try and fill the gap of the other one. British birds are very popular in the work I do, but didn't cut it, had too much of a solitary life, wasn't fair on it, and ended up giving away to a young lad who learnt to fly that bird and really learned falconry with. Spot the African spotted owl, he's well in his 20s and came to me about 18 years old. Great bird indeed. 2 Aplomado falcons. Back in 2019 these came along when I actually had some money. Who knew the C word was going to enter the planet? These are great birds now. Wurzel the bald eagle, here he is, day one of getting him from the breeder. Look how he's changed in the last 6 years. One of my favourite display birds that I have. Absolutely gorgeous creature. Another peregrine here, Kevin the Perry, and this guy here from Great Game Hawk stock, and he went to a breeder. He was sort of asked, someone asked for him if they could have him for a breeding project, and here's 2, a male and female I was gifted back from that project. Something really special, a melanistical black red-tailed hawk, beauty in the eye of the beholder. To me, this is one of the best looking birds of prey I've ever laid my hands on, and he, after the basic training with me, Kyle went on to fly that bird at Hares. What a beautiful bird, and when he molted out, or she molted out with that red tail, to me, beautiful. So here's Daisy again, my second yellow-billed black kite. What a beautiful bird, and as mentioned before, one of the best display birds you can get, but sadly had to sell her when the C word arose. Now, as a side note, I did dabble with a few chickens for a while. Beautiful things, clever things, handy things, but they did eat the garden, and we've had a few weird birds sort of at home. Kyle's imprinted crow was just mind-blowingly intelligent and very, very loving and affectionate. And Kyle also had some amazing emu. He hand-reared 2 emu. Goodness me, if you ever get the chance, living dinosaurs to be around. Truly living dinosaurs. Amazing birds. The biggest character that ever sort of graced our garden, Kyle imprinted a male golden pheasant. That thing was the biggest character. It would eat food from between the falcon's legs or their feet while they fed on their blocks. Amazing. I'll leave you guys with just some of the birds that I either own or work with at Icarus Falconry. Now, I say work with. These days, that probably means I fix things in their aviaries or I feed them. I don't get a lot of time to fly display birds. I've become the maintenance guy at the Falconry Centre for sure. But some beautiful birds here. I'll let it play out with those. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.